Section 19 of Reclaiming Revolution. History, Summation, and Lessons from the Work of STORM, Standing Together to Organize a Revolutionary Movement. This recording is in the public domain. Recorded by the Progressing America Project. Reclaiming Revolution. Section 19. Building the Movement. Experiences. STORM prioritized work to build the broader radical movement. We believe that building the movement and building independent mass organizations should be the central work of a cadre organization. This movement-building orientation made us relatively unique within the left. It was an attempt to avoid what we saw as some of the chief errors of many other cadre organizations. Too many cadre groups either focus exclusively on building the cadre organization itself, isolate themselves from working-class people of color, or have abandoned revolutionary politics. Our members all came out of mass work. Most cut their teeth in the youth and student movement. Others came out of low-wage worker organizing or cultural activism. While in STORM, we all maintained a high level of engagement with the mass movement. Though STORM was not a mass organization, it was an important part of our mass work. The organization provided an important base of support for members. It helped us to do our work more effectively and more intentionally. It provided a space for learning and passing on the lessons we learned in our mass work. STORM members made many important contributions to the broader movement. We helped to found and build crucial organizations and institutions, many of which continue to uphold politics similar to STORM's. We helped to develop promising leaders, and we worked to promote revolutionary ideas in the midst of our reform organizing. Applying our movement-building orientation, we helped establish a revolutionary internationalist trend in the Bay Area. Thanks in part to our work, there is now a broad community of people, organizations, and institutions who share a commitment to revolutionary internationalism and a broad identification with Third World communism. This trend is much broader than STORM ever was, and is still growing and thriving today. But there were many points of confusion and difficulty in this work. Most of these revolved around our lack of clarity about the relationship between our organization on the one hand, and the mass movement and mass organizations on the other. Historically, cadre organizations have had difficulty negotiating their relationships with mass organizations, and STORM was no exception. Without a clear strategy or a clear set of goals, we often functioned more as extra hard-working activists with revolutionary ideas than as conscious revolutionaries with a politically grounded approach to our mass work. Other people did not necessarily see it this way. Our shared politics and style of work made it seem like we indeed had a strategy. Many in the movement assumed we had a plan to lead them somewhere, and that we weren't telling them about it. Lacking a clear strategy, we also lacked a clear understanding of the role we should play in the movement. We often had poor communication with the movement organizations we supported. Even with organizations that STORM or STORM members had founded, we had no explicit, mutually agreed upon understandings of how we should relate. We did not have any mechanisms for other organizations to give STORM feedback or to hold us accountable for our actions and behavior. In later years, we tried to build such mechanisms. We set up public meetings to get feedback from people in the movement. And we had mediation meetings with several different organizations. While not every meeting accomplished what we had hoped, they represented an important step towards figuring out how to work out conflicts in the movement in a principled way, and to engage in public self-criticism. Many of our difficulties in this area were due to our unclear understanding of the role we should play in the movement, another byproduct of our unclear strategy. We weren't sure if we were a non-vanguard cadre organization or a revolutionary party. We knew we weren't the vanguard, but sometimes we acted like we thought we were. STORM very rarely produced organizational literature or sponsored independent events or actions. Our members thought of building people's power through building mass organizations as their primary work. We didn't prioritize engaging with and relating to people as STORM. This had at least 3 serious negative consequences. First, it left the movement and the people without access to our thinking and analysis on the current issues in the movement, in the country, in the world. Those ideas could have been helpful contributions. Second, it left our thoughts and intentions to the imagination of others. Without an explanation, it was easy for others, even allies, to see our actions as sinister. Third, it left our work in other organizations as our lone public face. With our intentions a mystery, it was no great leap for others to assume that our members' work in other organizations was an attempt by STORM to pull strings behind the scene. Lessons. We found that building a mass movement is important work for revolutionaries. Such work is one of the primary tasks of this historical period. Though building cadre and advance guard organizations is important, it cannot be the exclusive focus of revolutionaries. On the other hand, building the movement cannot be revolutionary sole activity either. Cadre organizations must balance movement building work with independent activity that makes visible the work of revolutionaries. It is important for a cadre organization to have a clearly defined role in the movement. This requires clear communication with other organizations and individuals in the movement, including regular, formal mechanisms for criticism and feedback. Cadre organizations need to take special care to be as transparent as possible in mass work. How much transparency is possible will depend on the conditions of the movement. At the least, cadre organizations need to be clear and open about their strategy. The movement should know what the organization is trying to accomplish. That way, mass organizations can make independent and informed decisions about how to relate to the cadre organization. Outstanding questions. What kind of practical program is appropriate for a cadre organization in this phase of building broad resistance movements? What kind of relationships should a closed cadre organization build with independent mass organizations and working class communities directly? What are the principles of practice that revolutionaries need to uphold in their interaction with other movement activists? What is appropriate work for cadre organizations to take up independently? End of section 19.